Every woman deserves to feel vibrant, safe, loved, and feel her power. The Woman's Vibrancy Code podcast is here for a potent use of your time. We will cover energy, hormones, and libido with episodes that also dive into entrepreneurship, money mindset, feminine power, and much, much more. Introducing Maraya Brown, Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, and entrepreneur.
All right, so let's hear a little bit more about who is Cynthia Stant. So first of all, she's a powerhouse mama. She's in Florida, and we have lots of great conversations on the side. I'm just excited about a burgeoning friendship with her. And she just got back from Scotland with a vow renewal with her 10-year wedding anniversary. So congratulations again, Cynthia, for that. And for those of you listening in the podcast, we get to talk about lucid dreaming. So if you are wanting to grow in turning your dreams into reality, turning your goals into reality, we get to talk about spiritual success. We get to talk about how your dream life actually kind of does the lucid work, so to speak, then translate into making your dreams come to life. So who is Cynthia? Cynthia Stant is a self-made millionaire. She's a sales consultant to seven-figure CEOs, energetic embodiment and mindset coach for powerful executive and entrepreneur women, and spiritual success mentor to women leaders who are truly ready to get it done and see it through. She's a passionate speaker who teaches artfully and authentically. Cynthia owes all of her success in finance, business, and life to her disciplined studies of metaphysics. So wait, isn't this fascinating? We're talking about success. We're talking about sleep. We're talking about dreams, but through the lens of metaphysics. So let me keep reading. Where she has mastered the art of meditation and the ability to hone her intuition, Cynthia's ultimate goal is to help every woman connect to their inner feminine beast, the highest version of you that has the power, strength, courage, and clarity to claim the life you desire and have it emerge through here in the physical. Cynthia is also the host of the Spiritual Success podcast, which covers topics such as business, universal laws, relationships, health, mindset, metaphysics, success, spirituality, and stay tuned. She's also interviewing me over in her podcast. So you'll be able to hear us have a banter down the road and check in with her podcast to hear me. Cynthia, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. This is exciting. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, nice to have you. And just the last thing is her social media handles are in the description if you're watching this in the Facebook group, and also in the show notes if you're listening to this in the podcast.
Perfect. Thank you.
As well as her link to aligning with the frequency of wealth workshop. So she does workshops just like I do. Okay. What does it mean for you to live in alignment?
To live in alignment. So when you really think about it, when it comes to success, there's actually like a formula that I think of. What I need to realize is that, first of all, everything in the physical that you see every day isn't actually who you are. It's who you were, because everything you did in the past is what got you to where you're at today. So what it's really important is, what did I do in my past to get to where I'm at now? It's my aligned thoughts plus my aligned feelings plus my aligned actions got me my aligned results. And so when you live in alignment, it means that you are making a decision and you are choosing to really pick the thoughts, the feelings, the actions that you're doing every day to get the result you want. You're being intentional with the things that you're doing. So what it's really important is to think every single day, why am I doing what I'm doing? What is the result that I'm looking for in my life? And am I really focusing on what I'm doing to get the biggest and best return? So as you mentioned, I help women to connect and align with their inner feminine beast. So inner feminine beast is my brand. And yes, it sounds like cute and fun, but inner feminine beast really is the highest version of you. It's your higher self. So when you are thinking like her, you're feeling like her, and you're acting like her, you're living in alignment to get the aligned result that you want. And I remember my husband overheard me saying this and teaching this. And he was like, babe, I don't get it. Why does it have to be aligned? And I was like, that's a good question, because if you just think, feel, and act, you're going to get results. But here's the thing. Poverty, it's a result. A failing marriage, a failing business, that's a result too. that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an aligned result. I know what I'm going for. I have clarity in my vision. And that is where I'm going to keep my focus, because where the focus goes, where the momentum goes. So living in alignment means you're living as the highest version of you. You're showing up like her. You're talking like her. You're living like her. You're investing like her. You're running a business like her. You're being a mother as she is, loving like she does. You're doing all the things as her. And if you do think like her, feel like her, act like her, you will live like her. That's alignment.
And it feels like investing in yourself. So often I encourage women to prioritize themselves, invest in their health, invest in their time, invest in boundary setting. And I love off camera, you just took this amazing trip to Scotland to do your vow renewals.
Yeah.
And you said it was an investment in my business.
Yeah, 100%. I came back in a whole new level, because here's the thing, as we were saying, the physical is not who you are. It's actually the last phase of manifesting. Everything really starts in the mental and the spiritual realm. There's these different phases that things have to pass through in order for them to come here in the physical. So I'm a big Disney fan. I love Disney. And Disney always says, if you can dream it, you can do it. What's he talking about? Picasso says, if you can imagine it, it's real. Well, that's true. And the late and great Bob Proctor, he always says, if you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. Because if you're experiencing it in your mind, it is real. How else are you experiencing it? It's just not here in the physical yet. And so when you do things that get you in the vibe and it makes you feel like you're the end result now, because you're thinking, feeling, acting, it's going to come here into the physical to be the aligned result. So I constantly do things that are next level that logically may not make sense or practically make sense for people, but I do it because it's not vanity, it's a vibe. I get myself to be in this area because that's who my higher self is. That's how she acts. That's how she feels. That's what Inner Feminine Beast does. She's the end result. So if I act like her now, I can start living the life like she does. It just comes.
Right. To actually invest in myself heavily with time, energy, and money. Do you have any specifics? So, those are my words. Yeah. I say I invest in myself heavily with time, energy, and money, and I get clear on what it is that I want, and I go out and find support, and I make sure that I perpetually do the actions. I want to say work, but it's not work. Like, of course, I'm currently in a live workshop right now. So what did I do this morning? I made sure that I meditated. I made sure that I went on a walk. I made sure that I had a great breakfast. Yeah. And someone go, well, what does that have to do with strategy? What does that have to do with make it? No, yeah. So in regard to, if you were to encourage a woman to invest in herself heavily with time, money, and energy, what would that look like from your perspective?
First of all, what you said is 100% true. It's not what you do that matters. It's who you are when you do it. So many times when we're in a business and we're looking to find all the answers and do all the things, we're constantly looking outside of us. Who's the business coach that has the next launch strategy? Who has the best system? Who's getting the results? And how are they doing this? And how can I compare myself to them? Right? Nothing outside of you is ever going to be the source of your success or happiness. You can learn the strategies, but if they're not aligned with who you are, they're never going to work. So you really have to invest in knowing how to align, because otherwise you're spending a lot of time, a lot of energy. And I'm like you, I know you can agree with me. My time is my biggest asset. Yep. I can always make more money. I cannot make more time. And so I'm constantly looking ways to invest in myself to hyperspeed, because I like fast. I love investing time. I don't want to do all these things that you say I have to do because that's something outside of me. I want to learn how to really be doing an alignment because I can go way faster. So I constantly am hiring mentors that are going to teach me and learn from their mistakes. Because that's what a good mentor does. They don't teach you just what to do. They teach you what not to do. But also you can't take any of that if you don't understand who you are. So when it comes to investing, you have to understand that you're not a gamble. If you are a woman who says you can do it and you know you can do it, and it's not about believing that you can do it. Sorry, I don't know. No believing, screw believing. Okay, how's that?
You can profanities allowed in my space. I don't know how that
works here. I'm just like,
I talk about libido and orgasms and vaginas. Listen, profanities allowed in my space.
Exactly. Screw believing though, right? It's not about believing, because a belief is just a thought you think over and over again. It's about knowing. It's an unshakable knowingness that if you say you can hold it in your mind. You have so much clarity on it. It's going to happen. And so the more that you can let go of the doubt, the more that you can put your money not only where your mouth is, not just talk the talk, but walk the walk, you're going to get quicker results. So whenever I look at investing myself, I think about, does this help me to be her now? what would she do? My end result, the best version of me. What does she do? And can I do it without the doubt, without the fear? And can I tell myself, I know I can, like, this is it. And every time that I can invest in myself, it's guaranteeing that I'm going to hit that thing, because I know that money is a currency, and I know that I need to put money out for money to come in. So I'll be honest with you. I talk about all the time. I'm very open about my numbers and all the things, but we just completed my first year of business, and it was in my 4th month that we hit 6 figures, and in my 6th month, multi-six, and starting our 8th, we started having $70,000 cash months and up. And it all really started when I hired my $50,000 coach. It's like I went and spent that, and all of a sudden started happening. And then I really thought, well, what does Inner Feminine Beast do? I constantly would look around, and I would collect so much money in my savings account, and I would do things where I'm like, yeah, I have the money, but I don't need that. I desire that, but I don't need that. And I would constantly tell myself I don't need things. But then I realized, well, what would she do? So I started actually giving myself the things I desire, because when I started saying yes to my desires started saying yes to me. And not
Absolutely.
just that, my business started taking off like crazy. So yeah, I went and bought the dream car. And next thing I know, people were seeing that, but also it just made me feel in the vibe of the Inner Feminine Beast, which means like, I'm going to attract like attracts like. So I was attracting women who were much more serious about investing, because I was investing in myself and having a lifestyle and all these things. So,
and coming from that place of desire, I love it. And for women that are in my world, I say, I want to help you feel turned on by your life, your lover, and yourself.
Yeah.
And so when we are investing in ourselves, when we are coming from a place of desire, when we are doing the do to feel turned on by our life, our lover, and ourselves, Maya Angelou says, it's not what you say, it's how people feel about what you say.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so when we're standing in our power, and like, I love what you're saying, or what I'm hearing is to make decisions based on the future version of the powerhouse beast that's on its way, to make those decisions now from a place of desire, even if it makes your palms sweat and maybe you feel a little bit nauseous. I think of the first, I guess it was a 50,000 coach too.
Yeah.
And of course it was intimidating. Yeah. Am I grateful? Absolutely. Because like you said, we are the asset. And even if it doesn't pay out financially, of course it's going to. More than anything, it's about who we're becoming.
And it's almost always stories that we tell ourselves too. Like we make problems into problems that aren't even problems. And like, it's funny how much we put this weight on investing. The coach that I invested in this year, she is a wealth embodiment coach, and she works with females, entrepreneurs. And she really taught me this concept that I have 100% embodied now. And I love it. I live it. I teach it now. It's not this or that, it's this and that. I always look at everything like, wait, I can always have both. And when I used to say this, I'm actually limiting myself so much. The best example I can think of is I have a new home, and I love the home that we're in, but it's 3 bedrooms, and my little boys, they're best friends. They love to be in, bunk beds. I think that's great. So I have another room. And this room is supposed to be for my guests, because I moved far away from everybody. I want people to visit whenever they want. So I told my coach, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this a guest bedroom, and I'm just going to set my office up, put a desk in the corner somewhere. It'll be totally okay. This is a temporary home for right now. It'll be fine. And she's like, oh, hell no. Hell no. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you have a multi-6-figure company. It's going to be 7 figures this year. You do not work in the corner of your, but I was like, but what about the fact that I, want to have guests? She goes, let's work this out. How do we have both? And all of a sudden she's like, oh, revelation for you. Here we go. You're going to get a Murphy bed. And I was like, what are you talking about? Well, look behind me. This is my office, which by the way, is like everything I could possibly want. It has all my shelving. It's got my ring lights, my studio. I got all my whiteboards everywhere. But when my guests come, I pull this down and it turns into a beautiful bedroom. And it's like, yes, this was a $7,000 shelving, but it's this and that both. And you have to be, how would she do it? How would she run her business? Not from a corner. Mm-hmm. She would have a beautiful room that puts her in all the vibes that makes her feel so good on camera and to work with.
Yeah. I want to move on and talk a little bit about the subconscious. But my first, while we're talking about this, what about for the women who actually aren't entrepreneurs? Maybe they don't even want to become entrepreneurs, but they simply want to live a really vibrant, joy-filled life. Maybe they have all their finances taken care of, either from their husband or from trust funds or wherever it's coming from. Can Can you give some examples of what that looks like and why a woman might want to be listening in and leaning into this conversation?
So here's the thing. What's interesting for me is that almost all of my clients, yeah, they're entrepreneurs, but they're a certain phase of entrepreneur. So these are women who usually they have the perfect sundae already, as in like ice cream sundae. They have the caramel sauce, they have the 3 scoops, they have the whipped cream on top. They're looking for the sprinkles and the cherries. That's what they're coming to me for, because they are really success driven and they are people who have already climbed to the top. So a lot of them are executive women who are, can't be promoted anymore. They're getting capped in their salaries. They're not seeing any more growth, in their company, in their career. A lot of them have the income where they can do anything and go anywhere, but they're like, why is this their burning still here? There's this vision for me and I can feel it. And of course, that's their inner feminine beast calling them. Pain pushes until vision pulls. They have this vision pulling them. And so what's really important is they come because there's something else they want to do. And they're not quite sure what that clarity is yet, but they want to find that so that they can keep the momentum going. Because if we stop growing and if we think we're completely complacent, that's dangerous. Mm-hmm. Because when we stop growing, we become stagnant. When something becomes stagnant, it becomes toxic. It's almost like if you had a bathtub and you filled it up with water. And of course, I love taking baths. What I do, I drain it each time, I cleanse it each time, I drain it each time, I cleanse it. If you just let the water sit, bacteria fills, it gets gross, it gets funky, and it becomes toxic.
It gets cold. I don't want to take a cold bath.
Exactly. It's the same thing with our energy. It's the same thing with our bodies. It's the same thing with our dreams. If you don't let them grow and expand, they become toxic. So what we're talking about here today is going to be like talking about how to become conscious of our subconscious so that we can continue to grow and that we can continue to learn and that we can continue to expand so that we can keep having more fulfillment and really be able to create a ripple effect of our own. That's what most women want. It's not just to be, powerful through somebody else or to make somebody else's vision come true, but to really have their higher vision, create an impact and leave a legacy for other people.
And not just about the money, but what do you do with the money? And not just about what you're creating, but what will you do with the life that's being created? I heard pain pushes until vision pulls.
Yes. Yeah. Michael he says
okay. And subconscious. What role does the subconscious mind play in this whole concept of manifesting results, whatever the results are?
Yeah. So you're subconscious. So you are 5% conscious. This is your mind we're talking about, and 95% subconscious. I like to say a lot of times that means you're 5% human and 95% spirit. So I'm very successful in business. I'm very successful in sales, but I really own all of that to the fact that I understand the metaphysics of it. Remember, you're not just manifesting money. Okay. That's not what we're doing in business. It's not like you have a vacuum, you're like sucking money. You are attracting people in their power who are ready to invest their money. Okay. So it's a people game. So you have to be a person in your power to attract people in their power. That's what we're doing. It's not just money that you're manifesting. So it's really understanding how does psychology work and how can I really relate to my people, because people buy off of emotion and then they back it up with logic. So it's really understanding the psychology of all that. So our mind is 5% conscious, 95% subconscious. And so what happens is your subconscious is basically autopilot. It's something your 5% wants to understand, but never really will, because it's only 5% of you. So what happens is, if you think about it, when something new comes into your life, you become very conscious of it, and it's very difficult to do. Examples could be tying a shoe. When you first start as a kid, like we all wear Velcro for a reason. Like sometimes I wish like I still wear Velcro because they're always going undone. And these nails, right? Look at that. But the thing is, I don't know if you do the bunny ears. I never do that. My husband does that. I think it's weird, but I do the loop, swoop, and pull. When you first are learning, you're like, hold on, loop. Is it pull? No, wait, crap. Swoop, loop. All right, I can do this. Now, if you're like me,
I have a 4-year-old. I'm laughing because I'm like in it right
now. Yeah. I have a 6-year-old, so he's got it now, but I can do both my kids, right? While I'm holding my cell phone. It's like, it's so easy for me to do now. Or when you first started driving a car, you get in the car and you're like, seatbelt on, fix the mirror, checking all the sides. Like now you're like, you reverse and you're out. In the beginning, it's your conscious mind learning these new concepts. But once you do it over and over and over, because consistency and repetition is always the key to success, it then becomes into your subconscious where it's something that's on autopilot. But what happens now is very often you have these thoughts. Thoughts are taught to you by other people, by the way. You're constantly learning other things from other people outside of you or form evidence of the past. And so you are getting these thoughts, and eventually you think them so many times that they become these stories that you believe. They're your beliefs. A belief is just a story. A belief is just a thought that you think over and over again. So it's your subconscious that takes over. So if you are filling your subconscious with thoughts of doubt, worry, stress, negativity, that just becomes like your second nature now. In order to get out of looping cycles, in order to level up, to get to higher levels of ascension, you have to become aware of what are the cycles and patterns coming up and become conscious of the subconscious so that you can break those levels and break those patterns.
Right. And so let's talk a little bit around what role is the unconscious or subconscious mind playing during our sleeping time. So a lot of women come to me because their sleep is disrupted, generally because there's hormone instability, their blood sugars are out of whack, they're waking up feeling like they did not get restful sleep. And so now they're exhausted throughout the day. But there's also this concept of why we need more sleep and also what is happening in our sleep from a subconscious perspective and what is being created, what is being transformed during our sleeping hours.
So if you think about it, I mean, we're asleep for a third of our life. And what happens is that your subconscious, it's not logical like your conscious mind is. So your conscious mind constantly wants to wonder how, like, how do we do this? How does this work? How is this going to make sense? How does this literally line up and make sense? Your subconscious is just neutral and it just observes. It doesn't judge. It doesn't label. It just observes and it loves, to be honest. It just has all this. So nothing is good. Nothing is bad. To your subconscious, nothing is right. Nothing is wrong. Just whatever you feed it consistently is just what it's going to, hold on to on autopilot. And then again, remember, whatever you are thinking, feeling, acting all the time is what you're going to bring back to you. And a lot of times you're not conscious of what actually is happening and running all the time. We don't understand how many times that we're putting these stories out there that just become our truth, but that's not really our truth. It's just the truth we're telling ourselves. So while you're sleeping, it's really interesting. You have the opportunity to explore your subconscious. When you're dreaming, you notice a lot of times you don't feel like you're in control. It's just, whoa, what a crazy dream. What was happening? That's how your subconscious works. It's just, you get to see and explore all of your past thoughts, all of your feelings that you're having. And you become immersed in your full mind, not just the 5%. You get to see the full 100%. So there's a lot of work that can be done there.
And so do you think it's possible that when a woman is getting a quote unquote full 8 to 9 hours sleep, but she's still waking feeling like it wasn't restful, do you think it's unresolved emotional work or metaphysical work or unconscious work that didn't finish? Or what do you think is going on there?
So, I mean, there's so many different thoughts and everybody's story can be different. And to be honest, I'm not an actual expert at sleep. That's not what I'm known for, but I know I'm paying attention. Wait, if a third of my life is me sleeping, there has to be some work that I can do here to really help me to get better. So, I mean, I've had that experience before too, where you feel like you're so tired, even though you slept so long. And then sometimes you take that 15-minute power nap and you're way better. So I will say that I'm not an expert at sleeping. But what I've noticed is that because I've explored my sleep, I've been able to get much better in my awake state. So what I mean by that is that I realize that I can solve things in my subconscious that I can bring into my reality. There's things that you can do that you can't do in your real life that you can confront, or I don't like to say confront. I like to say have courageous conversations. You can heal yourself. You can bring up suppressed emotions. You can have fears that you've been really having issues with. You can really face them in your sleep so that when you come back in your wake state, it doesn't exist anymore. There's a lot of different things there.
What about routines? So I'm thinking, there's this whole miracle morning, start your morning. Don't start out by consuming the outside world. Start by creating and utilizing the subconscious, unconscious work that was done while you were doing the sleeping work. So I'm curious, 2 questions. One is, do you have any specific ways that you start your day? And my other question to that is, I feel like we put a lot of emphasis on how we start our day And I actually see our routine getting ready for bed as really the start of our day. So if we said the preparation for sleep, the work that we do in gratitude, the work that we do in asking for what work we want done in our sleeping hours. I'm curious if you have any thoughts, or if you would even just share, do you have any specific routines or patterns that you do first thing when you wake up and also last before you go to bed?
Yeah. Another thing I'd like to say, because I'll answer that, but so my company is called Spiritual Success, right? Because it's really understanding that we're not exploring our subconscious to escape. Like, we're not like, let's learn spirituality so that we can leave this human thing, because being human is really hard. Let's be honest. Okay. So when we're talking about these things, it's not like, oh, that sounds good, let's go there. What I really want to do is explore there to come back to being human and getting better at that. So it's not about using spirituality to escape. It's using spirituality to master being human, and the physical world. So what I've noticed is, again, your subconscious doesn't actually know when you're awake or when you're asleep. It just looks at everything as it is. So if you're experiencing, a dream versus your awake state, it's still just looking at it neutrally. So that's why if you can go and experience things to control your dreams to make it be the way you want to, your mind starts really seeing that all the time. And it starts saying, oh, this is my normal. And that's a vibration that you end up being at. And that's what you attract into your physical. So I very often want to trick my brain to remember to not get so caught into autopilot. I'm very conscious about what I feed into my subconscious. So the very first thing I do every morning, and this is funny, I can guarantee everyone watching this and listening to this does the same thing. They all wake up the same side of the bed every morning.
Yes.
Check. They all go, very first thing is into the bathroom, and they usually either look in the mirror right away or they go pee. That's like, check. That's what everybody does.
I drink water first. I drink water and then I go pee.
Yeah, I drink water too. I always drink a glass of water first thing and chug it. Right. But they go pee. And then they go to the mirror, and then they're like, oh God, right? Like, oh, like, let me brush my hair before my spouse sees me. Like, let me just fix this a little bit before I go and see my kids and all that. It's the same thing every single morning. Here's the thing though. A lot of us want something different in our life. A lot of us want to have change in our life, but you have to be the change you wish to see. You can't keep starting your day the same way every time and expecting magic and miracles throughout the day. You go first, the universe responds. You're a cause that creates an effect. So if you want something adventurous today, if you want something miraculous and magical and different today, you got to be the person that starts your morning differently. So I do this thing, and it's really funny, but I purposely wake up different every single day, and I do something outrageous. So I will climb out from the bottom of my bed through the covers like this. I call it ninja monkey roll, where I will jump on the bed and then I'll off the bed. My husband will be laying next to me sometimes, and I'll roll over him, make out with him, and then jump out. And he's like, there she goes again. And I just do something different every day. I'll jump on the bed 5 times and then I'll leap off. I don't ever wake up left, at least get on the other side of the bed. Right. I do something different because I'm showing myself that I'm in control and I want difference. I want to grow. I want something different. So I do it. Watch your day start getting a little bit different. And all of a sudden your mind's like, what's happening? We're shaking things up. Okay. You cause an effect, but you're not going to get the effect you want if you're not doing something different. You want to have radical change in your life. You have to start creating radical change. Every little thing counts. Every little thing matters. And I do the same exact thing when I fall to sleep every single night. I don't mind sharing this. I teach this with my one-on-one VIP clients. They look at me and they're like, Cynthia, what is this witchcraft? What? What is this? I'm like, I know, it's so good. I even teach this in some of my master classes. So I have started doing this thing years ago, but it blows my mind. And really, I was inspired by Neville Goddard. He's one of my favorite metaphysicians ever. Definitely look him up. Here, I'm going to grab this. Here, it's right here. This is a book. It's really bad. I bought it for my husband last year for our anniversary, and I kind of stole it back, but it's all of his work ever, Neville Goddard. And I read this every single morning. But he talks about the power of your sleep. And he talks about exactly what we're talking about right here, about how your subconscious doesn't know the difference between your wake and, sleeping state. So what I've done is I understand the power of the end result. When you can assume that you are already living the life that you're living right now, your subconscious doesn't know the difference. So as much as you can put yourself in an environment that makes you feel like it, as much as you can hold that vision in your mind, your subconscious says, oh, this must be real. Like, this must be like what we're doing, because I can't tell the difference between your imagination and your physical. I can't tell the difference between your dream state and your wake state. So you do everything you can all day long to be the person you want to be now, to be your infinite beast. And so, again, I bought the dream car, and it wasn't to like, because it was practical, but because it made me feel like this is who I am, my end result. What I do is I write a thank you letter every single month. I'm very big onto vision boards, but vision boards for me are not, my yearly vision board. Like the wall of China is not big enough for that. That's what I feel like. Okay. So I do a monthly vision board, and this monthly vision board is very focused, and it's all the things I'm going to guarantee myself I'm going to achieve this month. And most of these things for most people will feel like 6 months away. There's no way she could do this in a month. It seems like 6 months away. I'm like, watch, I got this. Put this on the vision board. And every day I sit down and I think to myself, okay, what is it I'm doing? And am I doing something to move the needle on achieving one of those things on the board? And the board is always on my desktop. And I remind myself, who's the woman that lives that life that already has that? How does she show up today? What is she focusing on today? So what I do is when I make that vision board on the first of the month, that's when my clients have to show me their vision board because they hold them accountable. I then have a thank you letter. So I write this thank you letter. I write it to God. Now you can say God, universe, source, energy, whatever you want. It's just a label. But I say, dear God, thank you so much that all of these things that are on that vision board are now mine. And I make it the month after. So if it's March right now, as we're recording this, I have an April letter that I have. And it says, I'm so grateful that I have the dream car. I have the white Maserati. The smell of the Italian leather seats, just like it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's exactly the way I wanted, with the brown interior, with the white chrome, with all the things. Like it's exactly what I wanted. And I always say, I'm not sure how we did it, but I know we did it. And I'm just so grateful that it's here now. And it feels so good that it's parked in my garage, in my new home that I have, that I bought, and that I bought all the furniture for. And I never say, thank goodness I did this launch and I made $5,000 on this and $100,000 on this. And to be able, I never write the system, the how. I just go to the very end. And what happens is I read that letter every single night. Mm-hmm. And I feel that it's actually a letter that I wrote because it's real, like it happened. I'm really grateful that all the things are now mine. And I just express it with gratitude. My heart explodes. I literally have tears on my journal because I'm like, it happened. I know it. It feels so good and I'm experiencing it. And I close my eyes and I see all the things and I'm really being thankful. I'm talking out loud. And then what happens is I fall asleep, because the last thing that you ever think of, as you were saying, it's like the start of something else. The last thing that you think of usually before you fall asleep is what you're going to dream about. And so in my dream, even though it wasn't physically in my reality yet, there I was in my car. There I was in the home. There I was, having these really high-end multi-7-figure clients that were just coming to me out of the blue, asking for my help and service. Next thing I know, you start experiencing it so much in your sleep that you're like, well, I see it all the time. It can happen. It will happen, because it doesn't matter how much you think positive thoughts if you think you're a liar. It's like, I believe I'm a millionaire. I believe I'm a millionaire. But then you're like, how am I going to be a millionaire? How? That just knocks you out of alignment. So the more that you can experience it in your sleep, you can get behind the fact, like, I've seen myself do it so many times. I believe I really can. So now you put yourself into alignment where when you're in your wake state, it starts happening.
Right. And what I'm hearing is, for women where it's too much of a stretch, I have that perfect lover. I gave birth to that perfect child. I did that amazing vacation that I know I want to do with my family and surprise them all to go to Disney, whatever it may be. Even if a woman feels like an imposter while she's doing it, the way around it is you're writing a letter from the future.
Yeah.
Is what
it's
I'm
already
hearing.
done. You really get into like, wow, I'm actually writing this because it happened. But then what happens is when you get into your subconscious, again, doesn't judge. It doesn't label. It doesn't say this isn't possible. It's not real. It just looks at things like life does. Mm-hmm. This is how it works, really. Think about it like this. So whether you're a God person or you're a universe person, I can speak to both. So a lot of people say God loves unconditionally, right? Like no matter what. So it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, God will always love you, because God loves unconditionally or God loves neutrally. And if you're somebody that looks at universal laws, right? Because they're both, right? But universal laws, they govern the universe. universal laws are laws because they're consistent. No matter who you are, where you're at, what you look like, the laws are going to work for you the same. Gravity, what goes up must come down. It's not sometimes it goes up and then still goes up. It always comes down. It works for you the same way it works for me as it does Brad Pitt or a homeless person. It's the same. It's consistent, which means it's neutral. So in order to see through the eyes of God, in order to see through the ways of the universe, it's neutral, which means you have to train yourself to depolarize and be able to see neutrally as well. And that's why meditation is so important to me, because that's learning to control your thoughts. Your thoughts can control you. You start looking neutrally in a wake state. But if you do this, what we just talked about here, that thank you letter, you can then bring that into your subconscious, because your subconscious is constantly neutral. And it just sees you, the thing that you fed it last, and experiences it over and over and over, so that when you are in your wake state, it's like, 95% of me is constantly seeing this. The 5% of me is actually getting behind it.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I could talk to you forever. And I'm aware of time. 2 questions.
Sure.
What do you think about EFT, tapping, emotional freedom technique?
You know what's funny? I've never gone into it. I feel like there's so many modalities and so many things to do, and you're constantly exploring. I have some clients that are really big into it and they love it. I personally don't teach on that. But what I do talk a lot about is the importance of feeling your feelings and not having feelings about your feelings. So like not getting angry that you feel upset, like not getting, oh man, that client really got to me and I'm so pissed at myself that I let her get to me. No, just let yourself get to it, because when you have feelings about feelings, they become suppressed, and it's like putting like dirt underneath the carpet. So that's really good too, about bringing it into your sleep state, is exploring the subconscious and allowing those feelings to be able to get moving.
Okay. I want to make sure that you have a chance to, I'm curious around the aligning with frequency of wealth workshop that you do, but also if you had one piece of advice, this is such a cliche question, but it's a good question. If you had one piece of advice that you would give to your 6-year-old version of yourself, what would it be?
My 6-year-old version of myself, when I was younger, I was ridiculed all the time for being successful. Like if I was good at something, I remember I would get picked on for it. And so I honestly looked at success like I was sticking out because of it. If I got all straight A's, I got, picked on for it. I really just want to remind you that if I wish I knew back then that the physical isn't who I am. It's not. And what you have around you right now can change when you decide to change. You have to go first. So, I mean, God, that's actually a hard question, because I could sit there and talk to my 6-year-old self forever. But I think the number one thing that I would let her know is that the things that scare you most are going to be the things that help you to grow the most. And stop saying that it's scary. Instead, let's just start calling it exciting. Because we can label it any way we want. We didn't even get into the lucid dreaming part.
I know. Okay. Well, I have more time. Do you have more time?
Yeah, I do. We can hang out for a little bit.
Let's talk about lucid dreaming.
Yeah, sure.
What is it?
Let's talk about it. Okay, here's the thing. So what I'm going to bring to you here right now is kind of it's a pretty interesting concept. It seems a little woo, but again, you're 95% spirit, you're 5% human. So you learn these kind of things, it's going to make doing business so much easier, so much enjoyable. And why do you have a business in the first place? To serve as many people, to do your spiritual work, but to live the life that you came here to live. So what I will say is, what I'm about to teach you and share is that everybody can do it. You just have to learn and you have to work with it. Commitment, get better and better at it. But it's also I compare it to basketball. I mean, every single one of us can dribble a ball. We can bounce, might not be very good, but not all of us can put it through our legs. All of us can shoot a ball, but not all of us are going to make the high school team. Not all of us are going to make college. And some of us may make the NBA, but there's people that sit on the bench, and then there's LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Okay. Thing about Michael Jordan, what I love about him the most is that he says he's failed more than anybody else, and that's why he succeeds. Okay. So we have to remember this. If you don't get what I'm about to teach you in your first, second, or 20th try, stick with it. Consistency, repetition, because these kind of things, understanding your subconscious is going to help you to live your life so much better. So lucid dreaming is when you are in a dream and then all of a sudden something happens and you're like, that's weird. That's not normal. That wouldn't usually happen. What the hell's going on? Why does this? Wait, hold on. I think I remember something weird about right now. Oh, wait, can I just fall asleep? Oh my God. I am dreaming and I'm aware that I'm dreaming. So you realize in your dream that you're dreaming. That's lucid dreaming. But what happens then is that you're now awake inside your dream. And so you can start exploring your subconscious with your conscious mind. And it's pretty cool what you'll do and what you'll discover and what you'll take with you when you're back in your awake state. So that's what lucid dreaming is.
Can you give us some examples of how you've utilized it or how you've coached others to utilize it?
Yeah. So lucid dreaming and things like that, I don't really share a lot with my clients who are in my entry level. These are the women who've gone through my 12-month programs and gotten to even higher levels, my alumni programs and things like that, because they're pretty big concepts. But when I was little, I've always been able to do it and I didn't know how. And then as I got older, I realized I wasn't doing it anymore. So I kind of missed it. And then I taught myself how to do it. But an example of it would be, I actually recorded a podcast about this because I had a dream not too long ago. So I had a dream that I remember going to sleep really, really tired. And in my dream, I actually was still feeling so tired. But it was during the holidays and my husband was like, babe, all the family's here. All the friends are here. Like, we're like gonna hang out. We're gonna like party. And I'm like, yeah. Okay. I'll be here for this. And they're like, we decided we're gonna play yard games. And I was like, yard games, like games in the yard. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, but it's nighttime. He's like, yeah, we're gonna play manhunt. And I was like, oh, when I was little, manhunt was like the best. It's when you played like tag and like hide and go seek, but in the dark. I always sucked at it because I always had light up shoes. Like, mom, like I'm stick out all the time. So in my dream, he's like, we're going to play manhunt. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I'm kind of looking around for people in the backyard in the dark. And all of a sudden there's this giant snake, like not just like a yard snake, it's a python. And this thing is huge. And I'm just like,
you're in Florida. So a giant snake.
Well, I mean,
like that's no joke.
It's funny. Yesterday I saw a giant snake. The funny part is for me, whenever I see snakes symbolically, like it means a drastic change is coming. I guess supposedly because they shed their skin, and they kind of renew. But in my dream, I've never seen a python. This snake was pretty big, but it wasn't like this 7-footer, 8-footer like it was in my dream. So I started running from this thing and I don't know why, but it's actually able to keep up with me. And I'm just like, this is so crazy. This is so scary. And then I'm like, this also is really weird. Like never have I ever in the history of ever had a 10-foot, snake that's as fast as this be able, like, this kind of doesn't logically make sense. What's going on? And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sleeping. I'm in a dream. But what will happen is your dream will be like, are you sure you're dreaming? And that snake wanted to do everything in its power to convince me I wasn't dreaming, to scare me, to have me run from it. And I actually have a dear friend of mine. Her name's Ao. A lot of people know Ao. She's doing very similar work to us. And she's my accountability partner. And we meet all the time when we read. And she introduced me to one of these metaphysicians that I'm in love with. Her name is Frances Scoville Shin. And love her work. And one of the things that she says is that you can, run from fear as much as you want to, but it's always going to be there until you actually confront it. And that just stuck with me. And in my dream, I was like, you know what? I know that you're doing everything to scare me. And this snake embodied every fear I ever had. And so I decided in my dream, I'm not afraid of you. Like, I'm going to do this. So I walk right up to it. And just like Fiona from Shrek, I just like flew into this thing and made it into an air balloon, like a little balloon animal, and sent it off with love. And I was just like, I don't have to be afraid of these things. Mm-hmm. I can be in control of my fear. And because when you have power over fear, you have power over everything. Mm-hmm. You have power over money. Because with love is the opposite of fear. With love, all things are possible. So just things like that. I woke up and was like, what else am I afraid of that I can look at differently? What else can I make into a fun game and send off with love that's I'm labeling as scary? Is it really scary or is it exciting? So that really stuck with me. And I showed myself and proved to myself, I can confront a snake. Why do I think doing a podcast episode is scary? Why do I think, having a conversation, with a client or something could be like difficult? Like it isn't. I'm the boss of my life. I'm not just CEO of a business. I'm the CEO of my life. Let me act like that. Let me be that. So that's an example.
So for those that are listening, to be able to acknowledge those moments when you're in the sleeping world, but you acknowledge somehow consciously that you're in it, but you're also in another place, and to be able to actively massage or take control of where the sleep goes and also learn from it. and then apply that learning into your waking life in relationships, in business, in money generation, I'm imagining everything.
So I've actually trained myself on how to do it. And then once you learn how to do it, how great would it be to go have that really scary conversation you're supposed to have with your boss and practice it 100 times with them? Hear how they would respond. How do you keep your composure? How do you keep your cool? You practice it and you actually heard what they wanted to say. You have to remember, so not just you are 5% human and 95% spirit. Everybody's 95% spirit. It's not through our words that we really communicate. It's through our subconscious. We can feel, even if we're not aware of it, other people can hear in your mind what you're saying. Because, if you're walked into a room, you're like, whoa, I don't know why, but something's weird here. It's because your energy, your subconscious understands that. People can hear in your mind what you're saying. So be very careful when you're like, talking all these confrontational things. People can sense it. People can feel it. They may not understand it, but they certainly can. So why don't you go have the best situations happen? So do you want to know how I trained myself on how to do it?
Sure, of course.
You can do. All right. So again, what you think about before you go to sleep is always the thing that is going to come up in your dreams. Now, here's the thing. A lot of us are like, wait, what if I don't remember my dreams? It's okay. It's okay if your conscious mind doesn't remember your dreams. Your 95% of you is still having dreams. Like it's still witnessing it. Remember, your 5% always wants to know how it's going to work. It's going to work. Your subconscious is doing it. Trust me, it's happening. So what I've done is before I fall asleep, I pick something really odd, really, really odd. And I say over and over again, I'm going to lucid dream. And when I see this thing, when I see this thing, I know that it's going to trigger for me to realize that it's happening. So a purple poodle, a pink elephant, like you just say it over and over and over and over again, so that when you go into your dream, it may not happen on day 1, day 2, it may not be into the second month, but eventually you're going to see a purple poodle. And in your dream, you're just going to be like, whoa, hold on. You're like, I've been training myself. It's happening. And all of a sudden, what happens is you usually wake up because you get so excited, but you can go back to it and back to it. What I have trained myself to do is that I have noticed in my dreams, if you're ever in a bathroom, it always looks weird. It always looks weird. So every time I'm in my dream and if there's a bathroom, there'll just be like a hole in the ground, like no toilet. I'm like, that's weird. Or there'll be no doors on the stalls. I'm like, never have I gone to a bathroom where it looked like that as a woman, or the toilet will be on the ceiling. Or I'll go to the mirror and I won't look quite the same. I'll look older, or like my face looks like me, but all of a sudden my hair is like down to my butt, and that doesn't make any sense. The other thing is your hands always look different in your dreams. Everybody can agree with this. Your hands always look different. So I always have my nails done. So if I like look in my dreams and there's a nail popped off or broken, I would not be walking around like that in real life. So like, why does it look like that? Or you have a 6th finger all of a sudden. So what I've trained myself to do is to say, go to the bathroom when you're in your dream. Make sure when you get there that you go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. And so I'll be in my reality, in my dream, and I'll just like, excuse me for a second. I'm just going to run to the ladies' room. And I just go and I check and I look around, and all of a sudden the bathroom looks weird. I'm like, there's my signal. And so I'm like, let's go explore. What is it I want to practice today? Do I want to practice the big sales invitation I'm going to do later? For me, what it is, I always want to see my dad. My dad passed away many years ago, and I can see him in my subconscious. We sit down, we have coffee, we talk. He tells me everything that I want to know. And I see him more now than I did in real life. It's a beautiful thing because I disciplined myself to be able to do it. And anybody can do it. It's just sticking with it and committing to it. But I've learned so much and had so much growth because I've been able to confront the things that help me to grow here.
So you're cueing yourself that when you see this XYZ thing, whatever random thing you choose, that's your cue that you're in the lucid dream. I'm not sure I'm making the connection with the bathroom. So are you suggesting that everyone chooses the bathroom, or that's what it is for you? That's the thing that you've noticed.
That's what it's for me. The easiest thing for you to do probably is remember to look at your hands. Like, because in your dreams, you never see your hands. But if you became conscious and like all of a sudden it was like, your hands are going to look different. They always look different. And you're going to be like, why did they, that's my signal. And then kind of have an intention when you decide, when you do get triggered and you wake up in your dream, what is it you want to explore? Kind of know what that is beforehand. Because what's going to happen every time for a while is like, you're like, it's working. And then all of a sudden you wake up. So you want to be like, stay calm. Of course it's working. I've been working towards this. I've been practicing this. That crazy lady on the podcast said it was going to work. So like, I know it's working. So now that it's working, what's my intention? What is it that I want to learn about myself? What is it I want to let go? What is it I want support on? What was it that I would love to do? It's pretty cool, the things that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And how powerful that, once again, a third of our life, that the deep transformative work can still happen during that time. And then when we wake up, we hopefully feel more rested and ready for our day. And then in my space, we're still doing the work on our physiology and our libido and really addressing what's the work that I want to do. What's the work from a physical, a metaphysical, an emotional, a mental, looking at what am I afraid of? What stories am I telling myself? It's all so powerful.
In the beginning, it's really fun because you can't believe how like real it is. I remember in the beginning when you first realize that you're awake in your dreams, you're like, well, I can do anything. But you start like going to the buffet and just like eating everything because you're not going to gain calories, but you're like, whoa, I can taste the food. I can smell the food. My subconscious doesn't actually know a difference. So you start realizing how your subconscious works. And then you're like, hey, I can go up to this person and be like, wah! And they're just like, look at you. You're like, see, you're not real. You're not real. Like, and it's like, you start exploring it and you realize it's a lot of the things in your real life aren't real either. They're just the stories that you created. You can fly, you can fall from buildings and land on your feet. It's like, whoa, what can I do in my real life that I'm telling myself I can't? And I don't suggest that, but it's like, you can really explore.
Right, we're not suggesting you jump from tall buildings.
But it's like, you can do anything and go anywhere and see anything, and what power that is to bring back into your normal life.
Okay. Tell us, this is all so good. And I'm sure in the show notes, you can see her Facebook and Instagram link. You're welcome to reach out to Cynthia, I'm assuming. Can you tell us a little bit about the Aligning with Frequency of Wealth workshop? What is that? What's covered? How is that different than what we're already talking about here? Why would a woman want to be in that space?
This is a fun conversation that we're having here because it's not something I like teach all the time, but you and I were like hit it off. And I was like, yeah, I can speak to it. I think it's something I do and I love. For me, a lot of the women that come to me, like this would be a little bit too woo for them. They're like, whoa, I'm just coming out of the spiritual closet. Like I'm just tiptoeing in. Like,
I'm sure there's women in my space that where they're going like, wait, this is a little bit more woo than I, whatever. No. We all get to allow ourselves to address those boundaries and open our horizons just a tad.
Yeah. A lot of women love me because I'm very good at mixing the practical with the intuitive. Like I've been the head of every board meeting. I've been the number one of every sales board. Like I know how to get shit done and I know how to see it through and I can hit goals and I can hyperspeed and I can go. But the reason I can do so well at all that is because I've embraced these ways to study myself and to look at myself as a whole, not just my masculine energy, but a lot of my feminine energy. And so what's really interesting about embodying, we hear this word sometimes and people don't really understand it. People think the thoughts, they think the things they want, they do, they take all this action. But it's one thing to be working about in the mental plane and thinking and planning and strategizing. To bring something into the physical, you have to understand universal laws and concepts. So there's a universal law, as we were saying, that governs the universe called the law of correspondence. The law of correspondence says, as above, so below. It also says, as within, so without. So what that means is everything on the outside of you is a reflection of what's happening in. If you want to understand how things work in the physical, you can look at how it works in the spiritual. If you don't understand how it works in the spiritual, you'll understand if you learn how to work in the physical. So it's like everything's a mirror of everything. And so what happens is if you are constantly thinking thoughts all the time, but you're not bringing that energy into your body and embodying those thoughts and energies and moving your body to take aligned action, well, the things you want to manifest are just going to stay in the mental realm too. They're not going to come to the physical. So if you want the things you're thinking about to move into the physical, you have to take them in your mind and move them into the physical. So what that means is not just thinking about the vision you want, the dreams you want, the woman you want to be, just not thinking about her. You have to be her. You have to embody her. You have to be her. So if you want to learn how to align with the frequency of wealth, you have to understand that you have to embody that. And so I talk about how to embody, how to really take things, these ideas and make them into physical concepts or concepts into the physical. The best way to think about it is like this. Nothing's created, nothing's destroyed. Everything already exists. So everything you want, including wealth, does not have to be created. When I thought about that, I thought that was so freeing. So I don't have to create this vision. I just have to align with it. Right. And we talked that means thoughts, feelings, actions. So it's kind of like you're listening to a radio station. You're in your car, you're listening to FM radio. I don't know who still does that, but we all did at one point, right? So
I got my Bluetooth in Pandora. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. But let's say it's FM radio. Well, we just take for granted how we even hear the radio. It's radio waves. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And so there's all of, I mean, gosh, if we could see all the radio waves, microwaves, gamma, like we'd be sitting here like talking to each other like this. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So you can listen to somebody across the world, have their voice travel into the box that you're sitting in, and you can hear it because of radio waves. So if you go to your favorite station, you love that station because the host is just so funny. You're like peeing your pants, almost crashing your car on the way to work. If you love the commercials, because they actually are like selling you things that you want to buy, you're like, yes, how do they know? You love the music, all of it's your jam. This is your station, this radio station, which is, you got it tuned into that frequency there, you love everything. But what happens is the radio station changes. It goes to, I always joke around and say country. I like country, so I feel like I can pick on it. So if you are on a country station, all of a sudden you're like, I don't like this. I don't understand the jokes that the hosts are saying. I can't even understand their accents. I can't listen to another song about bourbon and pickup trucks and dogs. Like, this is not fun for me. And I don't care about the commercial talking about my local rodeo. I don't even want to go. So here's the thing. You want to be here, but you're here. Everything you want is on this frequency, but you're tuned into this one. Does this one not exist anymore? No, it does. It didn't disappear. You're just in line with it. So what are you going to do about it? It's like, this is where you are. This is when you want to be. What's the difference? The difference is you taking the aligned action. It's you embodying the concept and move your body to actually do the work to adjust the frequency. But here's the thing, you can't just come here and be wibble wobbly, dibbly dabbling and trying and figuring out, because it's going to sound like, you have to be consistent. You have to be locked in. You have to be,
it's not 92.3, it's 92.4. It's got to be specific, and just switch the frequency and start making the choices that align with the frequency that you want to be in the concept of be to have.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So good.
That's how you align. And then that's where everything pulls through. Everything you want comes on in. So most women, we want wealth. So I teach you how to lock in and embody and stay into that frequency of wealth.
The frequency of wealth.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are listening and you're like, ooh, I think I would like tapping in. I like Abraham Hicks. Tap in, tune in, turn on.
Yeah.
Tap in, tune in, turn on to the frequency of wealth. We have Cynthia Stant here, and you're welcome to reach out to her. The link is in the description. If you're in Facebook, it's in the show notes. If you're on the podcast, they go there, they register. I'm assuming that the workshop itself is free.
This is actually a past workshop that we had. So you can come and check that out and watch that over. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I usually put a lot of my workshops aside. I want you to come in, and whatever it is that you want to learn about, let me know. Like, I want to handpick that resource for you. I want to make sure that you're getting exactly what you're looking for. Even if you come and check out my podcast, it's like, we have links where it's like, what topic do you want to know? Do you want to know money? Do you want to know business? Do you want to know, these metaphysical concepts we're talking here? I organize all of them so you can just go directly to them. So I just like to make it easy for people to discover what they want. So I keep all of everything super organized in our Facebook groups. My team is there to handpick and get to know you and be able to provide that for you. But this is a past one that we hosted that was really successful. And
awesome.
We had a ton of reviews that were just like, wow, thank you.
Yeah.
So
you don't have to wait for anything. You can just grab the link and watch it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you again for your time today. It's been such a delight. And definitely, I had some big takeaways. Number one, to make the decision now that puts me in the frequency of where it is that I want to go. And for me, that's money, that's lifestyle, that's relationships, that's health, that's stress management, that's metaphysics, even dreaming. It's all of it.
So like my husband and I, right, we've been married 10 years now, and he hates that I can do this, but I'm so good at it. And it seems a little annoying for him, but actually I go first and he's starting to respond. We used to, in the early years of marriage, we was tit for tat, fight and just bicker and just, walk out, need to go for a walk and calm down, all these things. I've gotten to the point where I can ask myself, I know none of this is happening to me. I know all of it's happening for me, by me. I take ownership in my life and my reality. So what is the end result? I know I'm going to be with him forever. I know that I choose him. So why am I going to drag this out? Why am I going to make this more painful? Why am I going to act like a woman who doesn't like him? He's my best friend. I love him. He's my partner in life. I just go up and I hug him and I hug it out and I kiss his face and I say, I choose you. Like, I choose you. And he's always like, I just want to be angry. Like, and I'm like, that's cool if you want to be angry, but I'm not. And he's like, damn, it's really hard to be angry at somebody who's not, because you're right. What is the point? Like, no matter what, I'm going to respect your feelings. I'm going to hear you out. I'm going to apologize when I'm wrong. But we can just end this now.
Yeah.
Let's hyper speed.
And I love, it's not happening to me. It's happening for me and it's happening by me. So that total and complete self-responsibility.
Integrity, powerful. Accountability, discipline. Yeah.
And then of course, a lot in my world is around supporting women in their adrenal well-being, and to be reminded that it's real or imagined. There's a reason why you can wake up from a dream with your heart pounding. You're like catching your breath because it's not really happening, but it's happening in your subconscious and actually in your physiology. There's a reason why we watch a scary movie and all of a sudden our palms are sweating and we're noticing ourselves butt clenching. Like, it's not really happening, but it's happening in our physiology. And so we get to look at what are we allowing in and out of our eyes, our mouth, and our heart, and what can we set better boundaries with?
Yeah.
How can we filter in new ways to address the stress that's being caused by the things that we're letting in? And then also that self-responsibility to say, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me and by me. And what am I going to do with it? And how am I going to shift how I choose to be, do, have, to get in the alignment and the frequency of where I want to be? I love it, love it, love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cynthia. And just wish you well. And I'm sure that lots of women are going to reach out your way and say,
yeah, please.
How do I learn more?
And you have the link. So I'd love to welcome you to our community. And we're excited to have you on our show very soon too.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. I will be on your podcast soon as well.
Yay.
Thank you for listening to the Woman's Vibrancy Code. Connect with us and take the first step to transforming your energy, hormones, and libido at thewomansvibrancycode.com. Cheers to your zest and vitality. Make sure to follow for weekly power-packed value.